Hey, what's up out there? So, it's Captain Man Mark again, and I previously recorded 2 different episodes just like this one, covering the hair history of Miguel Diaz and Robbie Keane from Cobra Kai. Now, I got a few requests asking to do Hawk next, but I already planned on doing Hawk next, and that's what this video is. So this is going to be Hawk's hair history from the TV show Cobra Kai. Now once again, I'm a huge fan of this show, although I must say the last couple seasons were a little too over the top for me. I do think it's lost its charm, although I am having fun continuing this ride. I am looking forward to seeing how it ends still. But let's explore the hairstyle of probably the most famous hairstyle in this show, and that is Hawk, or Eli. Now his hairstyle, obviously, he's named after the fact that he has a mohawk, but actually in the beginning of the show he did not have a mohawk. If you guys remember, he started off with this short haircut, and so let's explore some of these photos here. He kind of has a standard man's haircut, or boy's haircut, where it's tidied up on the back and sides, and a little bit longer on the top. It looks like it's combed to the side a little bit. Now, something to say about this hair is that his hair on the back and sides, the proportions aren't so that it's like way shorter than the top. He doesn't have like a fade or anything, he just has a really minor taper. And he has this hair until he flips the script, and that's this episode here, and he finally gets a mohawk. Now something to say about his mohawk right off the bat is that it's not really shaved into the rim of the top of his head. It's rather shaved basically at the rim of his head. Now most mohawks are shaved into the rim of the top of the head, but his isn't. So he actually has a lot of bulk on the top for this reason. Whereas I think most mohawks don't carry this bulk, the sense of bulk that he has. So his hair is actually dyed blue. His hair is spiked up at the top all the way into the back, and it has this pinch. And once again, because his hair isn't shaved into the rim of the top of his head, there is a lot of hair to work with here. Now it kind of looks like here in season 1 that he has a bit of maybe a gradient going on, where it kind of looks like there's a bit of a fade into the blue coming from black, which is kind of a cool look. The blue altogether is kind of a darker blue, and here's a picture of his hair, of course, at the back, so we can see that the short bit goes all the way down. And then, of course, he has his famous Hawk tattoo, even though he's underaged. So this video might go a little faster than, say, the last 2 videos, because the changes aren't as big. But let's get into Season 2 now. Now, in Season 2, when he starts off the season, his hair's basically the same, but his hair is noticeably longer. He still has that gradient into the same blue, and the way that it's spiked up is the same. But a little later, by the time we're in episode 4, or even episode 3, it kind of looks like he starts spiking it a little differently, where it looks like he ends up trying to go for Liberty spikes as far as his hair. Now, at first it seems a little more subtle, but by the time he actually gets his hair dyed red, it's not so subtle, and we can see that he's trying to have Liberty spikes as far as his mohawk. And then, of course, the eagle on his back, they edit it so that he has matching hair. I don't know if it was his plan to always do that, where if ever he ever changes the color of his hair, he just has to change it every single time. That seems like that seems kind of annoying, having to do that every time. But anyway, he dyes his hair red, he goes for the Liberty spikes, and that's probably the most notable change. It does kind of look like it still fades in from black, but realistically it almost doesn't even look like there's a fade. It kind of just looks like almost like a frosted, one giant big frosted tip where it's red. At least to me, it doesn't look like there's a fade. It just looks like it's black and then red. I don't know if that was the case the first time also, and I was judging that incorrectly. But just judging by these photos where his hair was blue, it kind of looks like there's a fade. Here is the back of his head once again, just having a nice look at where it is shaved. And again, this really gives us the impression of how much bulk is on the top. Now, like in certain scenes, his hair looks more pinched than other scenes. And the pinch, to have a nice pinch in the mohawk, it looks better in my opinion. Whereas in other scenes where his hair is just standing up, it kind of looks like, if I'm just being real, it kind of looks like a paintbrush on the top of his head. Which I don't suppose that's the look that they're trying to go for. I do think the pinched look is what the mohawk is. Alright, we're moving on to next season. Now, next season, I'm not going to touch on that much, because realistically, his hair is the same. His hair is basically the same. So, once again, we have the Liberty Spikes with a red mohawk. And once again, my personal critique is, in particular, Season 3, his hair, most often than not, doesn't feature the pinch that I think the mohawk needs. And let me tell you something, man, he kinda looks like a troll's doll. At least from the front. On the side, he looks badass. He looks like Hawk. He's got a nice mohawk. But from the front, gotta be honest, I'm not gonna lie, he kind of looks like a troll's doll. And maybe I'm dissing your favorite character on the show, but that's just my opinion. He kind of looks like a troll's doll. Okay, let's move on. Let's touch on Season 4. Now, of course, at the beginning of Season 4, he has the same hair. It might be a little bit longer. He has the Liberty Spikes, that's red. And it's a little bit blended in from the black. But he ends up changing his hair a little bit in this season, where he ends up getting his hair purple. So this is a new color. So by the midpoint of the season, his hair's shorter, and then he gets it colored purple. And once again, it's not colored all the way down, so it's coming from black into purple. Something else to note is that when he gets his head shaved on the sides, it's never that short. So instead of it being like a maybe a 2-guard or something like that, like there's still some hair here. You could probably even tug at it a little bit. Typically, it's not just like dots on his head, if you get what I mean. But yeah, now at this point his hair's purple, and it's a little bit shorter. And he dropped the Liberty Spikes when he has this purple hairdo. And his hair is a little more pinched. I don't know if his hair being shorter helps with that, but I think it's a little more pinched. But this hair doesn't last very long at all. I think it only lasted like 1 episode, because the opposing dojo shaves his head, and they shave it right down the middle, removing the bulk of his hair. Now, something that I find interesting about this photo here is this is a good demonstration of how much he actually had on the top of his head, because right at the edges of the rim of the top of his head, there's still hair there. Obviously, this is kind of a goofy look. They left him looking kind of goofy, but the purple mohawk, the remnants of what's left, is on the very sides of the rim of the top of his head, which kind of demonstrates how much hair he actually keeps on the top of his head. Whereas most mohawks are shaved into the rim. Now, this is his head freshly shaved down, and once again, as I was saying before, like, it seems like he shaved it so that it's in touch with the sides of his hair, which weren't that shaved down to begin with, so it's not like it's just like shaved down to a 1-guard, or I feel like this is even longer than a 2-guard. But even the top of his head, like, it's not all the way down. It's not close to being all the way down even, but it's still shaved down. Most people would still call this a buzz cut. And then by the end, this is at the tournament, we can see that his hair grows. And like, this is escaping a buzz cut at this point. I'm not sure how many people would call this a buzz cut still, but I would call this personally just really short hair. Okay, like I said, we're going to be going through this pretty fast because his hair doesn't have as many changes as some of the other cast members because he keeps, quite frankly, the Mohawk look. But we do have a little bit of a change in Season 5 where he actually rocks the Fauxhawk instead for most of the season. So for most of the season, he rocks a Fauxhawk. Now, the big difference between a Fauxhawk and a Mohawk is that it's not spiked out at the back, and typically it's not shaved into the rim of the top of the head, and it's kind of just spiked up and pinched, with the hair being typically shorter on the back and sides, but once again, it's not spiked out in the back typically as far as the Fauxhawk. So he rocks this Fauxhawk look up until I think it was the very last episode. So at the end of the season, he finally gets a Mohawk again, and he reshaves it down on the sides and back. Once again, it's not the shortest in the world, but he shaves it down and starts spiking it at the back. And so now we have the full Mohawk again, and he dyes it blue. And something to note is that it doesn't look like it's coming in from black. It looks like it's shaved I think it's colored, not shaved. It's colored all the way down, it seems. And I think the pinch looks pretty good. But it's, once again, not shaved into the rim of the top of the head. And this is a blue that, although it's the same color as the first season, this blue I think is slightly different. I think it was a little darker the first season, and I also think this is a little bit of a, like, there's a hint of turquoise, I think, but it's mostly blue. Like, I wouldn't call this turquoise. This is definitely blue. But it's, I guess, closer to turquoise than season 1, I guess you could say. Okay, let's move on to next season now. So that was at the very last episode where he finally gets a Mohawk again. So now we're actually at the very last season. So this is a demonstration of how fast this video is going. It's only 13 minutes. I think the Robbie video was the longest at like 40-something minutes. But that's because he had a lot of different changes throughout the seasons. He had the most changes throughout. So this is the last season, and of course we still have one final part. That's the third part, which I think they're releasing like a movie-length episode or something like that. One last one, or something like that. But anyway, so at the beginning, we actually see Hawk with his Mohawk even longer than last season, but it's the same color, and we have the same thing going on where it's colored all the way down, but this time he has Liberty Spikes again. So he's rocking the Liberty Spikes once again with this new blue color that he put in. And then this is a shot from episode 2, and we can clearly see a little bit of like a closer to a turquoise color. I think it might even be, I think this is actually closer to a turquoise color than it was last season. Which I really dig this blue, actually. This is like my favorite blue, and blue is my favorite color. That's just a little bit about me. Now, he ends up going through an obvious change. Actually, I have found that in episode 4, everybody gets a haircut. Well, maybe not everybody, but Dimitri, Hawk, and Kenny, as well as Robbie, from what I can tell, have gotten a bit of a haircut. Now, obviously he has the USA motif in his hair, where he has some kind of hair attachment. Now, his actual hair is shorter now. This looks more like when his hair was purple, as far as length. But he has this American flag motif where he has stars colored into his hair. And then the top, there's an attachment to elongate the look of his hair with the red and white. Now, personally, I know some people think this looks badass, but to tell you the truth, for me, I actually think it looks kind of funny. I think the hair attachment looks a little funny. That's just my take. I know it's supposed to look badass, but it is bold, and I think that works for him, but I would have preferred if he just kept the hair that he had, or the hair that he has, and just worked with that. If he added maybe red and white to the hair that he already has, maybe between each star there could have been a bit of red and a bit of white. But something else to note about this new change is, if you noticed, his hair's actually a little bit shaved into the rim of the top of his head. So actually there's more, his hair's more shaved than it used to be. Typically it was just only at the side, but now it's actually shaved into the top. Now typically I feel like Mohawks, it's shaved a little more into the top than this. Maybe only a little bit, but this is shaved into the top at this time, where it never was before. Not this much. It was never shaved this much. Even at the beginning of this season, it was only into the sides, but it looks like they shaved it a little more. Now, right here, this photo here, this is probably the shortest his hair on the sides has ever been. This is the shortest his hair at the sides I've ever seen it. So actually, towards the end, we can see that his hair grows. Everybody's hair grows a little bit towards the end, but it's not like this super big change. But if you look closely, you can see the passing of time with the length of how much everybody's hair has grown, and he is no exception. He has let his hair grow also. So that's basically it for Hawk. I hope you guys got a kick out of this video. Like I said, his video wouldn't have been as long because the changes aren't as significant. And I don't suppose he will have any more changes in this last part, part 3. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And I thank you for your viewership in the other 2 videos. That's really, really awesome. The other 2 videos have been taking off, and I really appreciate that. So if you guys got a kick out of this video, maybe you will get a kick out of the other 2 videos. And if you really like this style of video with image research on hair, please feel free to check out the other stuff on this channel. We have other videos of this type, and we're going to come out with other videos like this in the future. So anyways, peace and love. We'll see you later.